One of the things that we want to lead into next that I think builds off of this really well is kind of a questioning process is we have a post with purpose checklist that we'd love your help adding one more to as we begin to socialize these tools. So if we could pass this out, we're going to also put this up for download. I love, so when Iskra and I talk about social media, which we've done a couple of times, and like how we maintain our balance and our confidence and our relationships in this world that's moving very fast and very visual and very noisy, I want us to think about our role and our purpose in what we post. Yeah. Right? Because in some ways we can play victim and talk about all the things that are happening to us, right? All the things that make us feel less about our bodies or not as cool as so-and-so. But also we may be contributing to it unwittingly by just what we either engage with or look at or retweet or share. And that sharing has power. So if you think about it, if we are the CEOs of our own media empire, then what we begin to put out there in the world impacts, again, not based on your follower size, but on the quality of content or the things that you're participating in or not participating in. So on this little checklist, we came up with a couple of questions that we think are also great, not only about refreshing from social media, but then using your social media with more of a purpose to kind of put forth positivity. So we asked a couple questions like, is it my truth? Have I edited this too much? Do I feel good posting this? Those are just really simple questions to ask. And will others feel good seeing what I've just posted? Yeah. Would you all take a second right now and just add one more question that you think would be great for our community to ask themselves as an audit, so to speak, as a checklist, as they're creating content, as they're self-expressing, just a way to feel like they could post with more purpose. So we'd love a suggestion of one more question. Maybe it's a question you ask yourself, or maybe it's just something that you've thought about.
I put down what will others learn or take away from it.
Oh, great.
So, like, what other knowledge can I pass on to somebody else about being positive about what they're doing in their life?
I love that. I love that. Okay, somebody else learned from this. That's great. A couple other questions. Yeah.
I said, is this to pose or is it more in the moment? So instead of just like posing for a picture and popping the hip out or something, just like, am I having a good time and am I actually having like a laughing picture with my friends having a great time?
Yeah.
Some of those pose too, just to let you know as a model. Some of those are for 5 minutes.
Yeah, for 5 minutes.
Just to let you know.
Excellent. What
Not
else?
my friends, but
What else do you think could be helpful for somebody? Maybe somebody younger who's just getting into this and may feel quite overwhelmed by what's out there or a lot of pressure. Yeah.
I put, does it show my personality / like who I really am?
I love that. That's a great question.
because I'm interested to know actually, how many of your social media accounts do you firstly all have Instagram? Everybody. And are your handles your name? Nearly
Most.
majority. Nearly everyone. So it is you, and people are following you because they want to know about you. I think that's always something really important, and what you said about earlier, no one cares about my life as much. I think it's very interesting because one of the things I remember doing when I was building my social media was very much like, what are people going to keep coming back because of? And then when I realized it was me, I was like, oh, bingo, that's easy then. I literally just be myself because that's what they're here for. And so I think you can overthink it, but at the end of the day, it's your name on the account. They're going to be coming back because it's Amy, or actually I should have said Sarah, obviously. And that's what they're checking in for. They want more of Sarah. Like, that's what they want. And in fact, if you're just trying to do what someone else is doing online, and there was a lot of models who coming up after me, definitely. I mean, Natalie would even send me screenshots. They were like, did they literally just copy and paste your caption and like your pose and just recreate it? And like, I don't know what they thought, because they would. That was me, and that was what I was doing, and that was my message. And I came at a very good time in the sense of like, no one had really talked about that stuff before. There was no models, posting unretouched photos, etc., etc. So for them to just copy me and think that that would make them successful, it won't, because you have to find out what makes you different. And people are going to comment because it's you, and you have a new message, a new story. You're sharing something that they can't get anywhere else. If they can get it anywhere else, they'll stay there. You know?
Yeah, and I think one of the themes that I've heard us kind of dip in and dip out of today, which is that this is all going to ebb and flow too, right? Like you're going to find these moments where, because some of you are really using social media, the mindfulness that's coming about is connection or it's community, and then others, it sounds to me, are on a little bit of a journey to figure out like the online persona of us and how can it be close enough to who I am offline, right? Because we're working with other people's platforms, and I just want to say too, that's okay. Right? There is no perfect way to do this. But if we don't talk about it, what we're afraid of is that the dangers get worse, quite honestly, right? Because you can feel isolated or, to your point earlier, anxious. We know that there are medical studies happening right now that are looking at the depression rates that happen the longer we spend online, observing other people's lives without real life connection. And I guess I want to be the voice in this conversation today to remind us that we want to live a well-rounded life, right? We want to live an online and offline life that feels as authentic to us as possible. And I would never want to give up social media because of the awesome attributes of some of the things that we talked about before. But just like everything else, it is about a balance or a harmony. And mostly for a mindfulness, it's about a self-discovery. It's just about feeling where you are. And so I may never post in the same way Iskra does or Natalie does or any of the Sarahs do, but but it is also about your experience. So if you're not enjoying it, you also don't have to be doing it, right?
You don't have to participate.
You don't have to participate. Or if you know that it requires limits, or if you know that you want to ask some of these questions. I mean, that's why we wanted to offer some of these tools, because we are all on this journey to figure out how to be better connected and related to this world of social media and how to be mindful and use it for the power. And what I love about collaborating with Iskra and with Aerie and with all of you in these Aerie Real Life Workshops is that this is about infusing more positivity into a space and a platform that we use very frequently. And if you think about the amount of time we spend consuming these messages, they need to be messages of more positivity. Doesn't mean it's phony positivity, doesn't mean it's sort of this, fantasy world, but that realness that we seek has to have the balance, has to have both.
Yeah, and going back to you saying it's a relationship, how many hours a week do you think you spend with social media? Like, even if I think about how many hours a day you can spend on social media, and Instagram in particular for me, because it also contributes to my work, but I'm alone with it and sitting with it and having a relationship that's very intimate for quite a few hours every day. Spending more time with it than anyone else, I think, really.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a long distance relationship, so I'm pretty sure I spend more time with Instagram than I do with any person, which is kind of worrying. And therefore, you've got to be working on that relationship, keeping it balanced, keeping it healthy, and again, figuring out how you fit into that and keeping your self-worth and value within that relationship.
And I think the last thing we might want to say is that we will not be able to control other people and the world that we tap into when we go online, right? There's so many things that are out of our control, but what we did today and the participation that you shared with us was absolutely in our control. A self-knowledge, a self-discovery, asking some questions, thinking about impact, like those are things we have power and control over, putting out positivity. That's really for us what the mindfulness is about, is just an awareness of how this is impacting us. So with that, we would love to open it up to any questions or comments or things that we might have hit on that you want to talk more about. Anything in that vein, the floor is yours. Anything that's on your mind, we'd love to hear.
I would say, actually, speaking to when you asked me about like if I post frequently, and then when Mackenzie said about being very present in the moment, I am that way a lot. And if I'm having a good time, like I don't feel the need to constantly like be taking videos or photos. I go to tons and tons of concerts, and I don't want to be that person because I hate being behind that person and I'm watching
through a phone.
And I'm gonna see those posts anyways because everyone else is there and they're posting. And I am also of the generation where put your lights up. We used lighters. We didn't use our phone. So
that's my lady over there. Never me puts it, But it's so interesting because I love what you said. We have witnessed life quite a bit through a screen.
Yes.
And what that can do too is filters out literally like all of the yummy messiness of all the other stuff, of the smell, of the sound, of the location, of the atmosphere, right? Like in that way, like we can't fully capture that in a video, which is why even we wanted to take what we do in stores with the Aerie Real Talks and, you know, what does this look like in a digital version where we create these workshops, because we need a little bit of both, right? We need that balance.
And I would say the reason why I'm able to have this life that I can show online is because I didn't give too much time to worrying about what other people were doing. I was there building it for myself. And I do worry when I see people who was like looking at other people's lives and spending so many hours doing that. I'm like, oh my God, I want you to do that for you. Like I want you to be spending that amount of time where you're looking at someone else's life on your own, so you can build up, and then you can be on that beach one day there because, you know, you've either gotten the job promotion or you've, you know, networked, or if you are into social media, you've built your own social media, whatever it might be. But I'm like, I just like, spend some time like building your own life. If it's just relationships, if it's doing hobbies, learning new skills, like you could be doing so much. Like just keep that in mind as well.
What kind of concerts do you like to go to?
Everything.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to Dylan Francis and Alice in Wonderland tomorrow, and on Tuesday I went to St. Paul and Broken Bones, so very eclectic.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What else is on your mind? What other questions or comments or thoughts? Was this helpful to consider? Yeah.
Great.
Hopefully you hear it. Obviously, we're intending this clearly without any judgment of what is the right or the wrong way to do it. But we find quite a bit when we talk to people, we're desiring more connection and more real connection. And I think social media can be an incredible way to get it.
For sure.
And I also just don't want to see us abandon how to be real in real life too.
And I don't want you to abandon it because you feel like you can't do anything with it. Like it can't bring you any. It's so contradictory when I'm like, don't spend time in it, but then but yeah, it's just that you could find the joy in it, and if you can't, then it might not be for you, and that's absolutely fine. But it can be a beautiful tool. Like
and it certainly can be a beautiful career builder too. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There are ways that you can put, you know, there's lots of folks who launch businesses online. There's certainly, it's a wonderful tool for networking. So yeah, none of this is sort of an absence or replacement of those. But I think for me, what I loved about this conversation today, and I appreciate your participation in it, was hearing where and how different people use it differently, right? Because I think we also assume everybody uses it in the same way.
Fascinating for me. So I'm just like, I would love to see it from different angles. So I'm really grateful to be able to learn from you all as well.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you all so much for joining us today.
Thank you.